Welcome to Nonprofit CEO Spark, the podcast for bold leaders ready to navigate growth and change with energy and confidence. I'm Marcia Beckner, nonprofit founder, former executive director, and culture strategist with nearly 20 years in the social impact world. Each week, I help nonprofit leaders stop spinning out, set boundaries, and design inclusive cultures where all staff can thrive. If you're ready to reignite your leadership without sacrificing your well-being, hit subscribe and let's spark your next chapter together. If you've ever wondered what it actually looks like to lead with confidence when the stakes are high, the team is growing, and the decisions keep coming, today's guest has been in the room for all of it. Patton McDowell brings more than 35 years of experience working alongside nonprofit leaders who are navigating growth, complexity, and those moments where the path forward isn't obvious. He's partnered with more than 325 organizations, supporting boards, CEOs, and senior teams as they make critical decisions that shape not just the strategy, but the culture and long-term impact. Before launching his firm, PMA Nonprofit Leadership, Patton held leadership roles with organizations like the Special Olympics International, so he understands this work from the inside out. Today, he serves as the director of the Institute of Philanthropic Leadership, where he's developing the next generation of leaders through programs focused on major gifts, emerging leadership, and executive growth. You might also know him as the host of the award-winning podcast, Your Path to Nonprofit Leadership, and he is the author of the book by the same name, where he's had hundreds of conversations about what it really takes to lead well in this sector. And just to round it out, he holds a doctorate in organizational change and leadership. So yes, he brings both the lived experience and the academic depth to this conversation. But what I appreciate most about Patton is how grounded and practical he is. This isn't theory. This is what actually works when you're in the middle of it. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Patton.
Marcia, delighted to be with you. Thank you for that kind introduction. And I'm excited about this conversation.
Me too. I was on your podcast recently. It's actually coming out in June of 2026.
Yes, indeed.
And we had a really great conversation about mergers and how to merge the cultures of two organizations if you grow in that direction. And so I will put that episode in the show notes once it comes out. So to make sure that everybody can access that conversation if they want to, and then find your wonderful podcast. I want to ask if you have any additional context to the bio I just read of you, why you're passionate about nonprofit leadership specifically.
Well, grateful for the opportunity once again. And I'm glad you lifted up Special Olympics International. I always like to advocate for the internship opportunities in our sector because I'm the fortunate recipient of an opportunity. I started as an intern in Washington, D.C. as a Special Olympics International intern, got to meet the founder, Eunice Kennedy Shriver. She was still active at that time. And so it gave me a wonderful perspective. And speaking of what we'll talk about, Marcia, confidence in a leadership role and an intense advocacy for a cause that was powerful for her. Mrs. Shriver had a family member that was a beneficiary of the program. But anyway, that's what started it off for me. And I was fortunate to spend 10 years at that organization, another 10 years in higher education. So as you said, I've kind of experienced some of the highs and lows from the inside, and now have been fortunate in my work with Armstrong McGuire to work with many nonprofit leaders who, like you and I've talked about, they're struggling with some of these things and trying to do good work, but also dealing with issues of confidence sometimes.
Yeah. And so what are the biggest struggles that you're seeing right now, in the spring, summer of 2026?
Overwhelm, given the uncertainty in almost every direction a nonprofit leader looks. Funding is uncertain. Retention of talent is difficult. Board engagement can be one end of a spectrum to another, from micromanagement to disengagement. And so you combine all of that in largely underfunded, often, and understaffed organizations. That's tough on a leader. And so I find, and again, why your topic is so relevant, hard to remain confident when everything around you is in turmoil. And then you deal with the challenges of your team looking to you to get their confidence built, and
Right.
that's hard. And so I guess I can't say there's one singular issue, but in all of the leaders I'm working with, it seems like the combination is what is sometimes the hardest.
And what do you see is the impact of all those stressors on a leader?
Turnover, number one. We're losing talented leaders from the sector who ultimately say, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore. The impact it has on them personally and their families. And so the more we can do to support leaders, I talk a lot of times with these leaders about, to the extent they can control some of the clutter. And that's something I've found that sometimes, or do we have some self-inflicted stress? Because as a natural nonprofit leader, you're used to rolling up your sleeves. You're used to doing whatever it takes to make things happen. But does that ultimately, as you advance as a leader, does that create problems for you? Because you're not delegating, you're
Hmm.
not letting someone else deal with some of the things they can, in fact, empowering them to do so. Um, but again, I think if I had to give you a single answer as to what's the result of this, we're going to lose good people from the sector.
Yeah, I know that. I feel like that's the tragedy of it all is that people
Exactly.
who are wired to help others and serve others just completely get overwhelmed with, that level of burnout where you don't have a minute in the day for yourself
The, the
necessarily.
the passion for the cause will carry
Yeah.
you for a while,
Yeah.
but it can't carry you, you know,
Yeah.
as far as the organization needs you to stay with it.
Yep. Workload balance and sustainability have got to be top priorities, right? So, I want to talk about a problem that a lot of executives have told me. Um, they've said that they're like really trying to, they're kind of people pleasers and really want to get consensus when it comes to making decisions and moving forward and taking action. They want consensus and they want everybody to agree because they feel like that's what it takes to build a safe environment where people can perform at their highest levels. But when taken to an extreme, building consensus stalls growth and stalls the expansion of your mission potentially. So we want to just find the right balance. There's nothing wrong with consensus. So I want to start by asking you, like, think back to your time as a senior leader in one of those organizations that you've worked in. Was there a moment where you were trying to be collaborative, when you were trying to be collaborative, actually slowed a decision or made it harder on yourself to lead? And do you remember what was happening at that moment?
Very much so. I was one of the youngest program directors in the country as the senior program officer at Special Olympics North Carolina. And I felt, as we all do, I bet sometimes, a bit of imposter syndrome. And I felt like, and the reason I wanted unanimous approval for any decision, because I worried that people were judging, my capacity and quality as a leader. And so we were tackling some new programming ideas. I had ideas that I thought made sense, but I probably stunted the growth of these ideas because I was trying to convince everybody that it was the right decision. And you're never going to get everybody to agree. A large organization, right? And that's the strength of an
Yeah.
organization. You don't want everybody to be exactly of the same opinion. But as a younger professional with some insecurities that I now happily admit, um, that I think is the result sometimes of our people pleasing nature, wanting everyone to like me and wanting everyone to agree with me. But I wonder if you hit a point, Marcia, that I don't know exactly what the formula is, but I've heard some leaders say that, is it 75%, is as close as you're going to get, because you
Yeah.
will wait forever for 100% agreement. But if you get two-thirds and you feel confident, then you need to be transparent, you need to communicate it, and you need to do it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then you are transparent about that. But at least in my experience, that I still kind of, shudder a little bit at like, gosh, how much time did I lose because I was afraid to make the decision?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing, about imposter syndrome. And that is so relatable. I think we've all had it. I
Right.
believe if you don't have narcissistic personality disorder, then
Right.
you suffer from something else, which is imposter syndrome, one or
Yeah.
the other.
That's a different episode, right? We'll have
Right.
to, yeah.
Part two.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we're giving people a really good practical tip right now, which is a range, and a range of how many people you can get, to buy in to the next decision or action. You said 2/3, 2/3, and you move forward. I had a peer of mine say he tried to make 80% of the people 100% happy.
Yeah. I like that. That is a good
Okay.
formula.
Yeah, I would say so somewhere our range is 2/3 to 80%,
Yes.
right? Let's make that like an actionable takeaway for anyone listening, and you're in the middle of, a persuasion campaign around your next idea or your next action or decision. 2/3 to 80%, I think you're good to go.
And if at least you gave everyone to voice, I think that the mistake we make sometimes is then not allowing everyone that wants to weigh in to weigh in. That
Yes.
is what frustrates your team. I think, well, I would, they never talked to me, and I'm the one that has to execute on this plan. So it doesn't mean everyone is. You have to be clear. Yes, I want your voice, and I'm going to take it under consideration. So I guess what I'm saying, maybe you want 100% opportunity to provide feedback,
Right?
and then hopefully between 2/3 and 80% agree after the result is delivered.
Yeah. And this one statement is really powerful too. You can say, nothing is set in stone. And I've seen like
Good
just
point.
leaders who are really strong in culture, they say nothing is set in stone. We've got 2/3, agreement on the direction. Everyone's had a say. We appreciate all of your feedback into this decision. And we're going to try it for 3 months. And if we try it for 3 months, it's not working, we're going to reassess and adjust. And everybody can weigh in on this process or SOP that we're trying to create. And in that way, you're just making steps forward, and you're also normalizing like this might not work, or it might work better than we expected.
Exactly right. That's so well put. And again, it just sets the stage for transparency, and but it also makes clear that not everybody's going to agree with everything, but
Yeah.
we're going
And
to
that's
do the
okay.
best we can. Right.
Right. Because we do want different perspectives. So
Right.
actually 100% is impossible if you have everybody thinking the same way.
It
So
couldn't agree
yeah,
more.
it means that you do have a diverse team, and you can point that out. So nonprofit leaders, I'm sure you see this in your work, are taught to be inclusive and collaborative. Where does that start to go wrong in practice?
Right. I think it also, if we are so intent on getting all the opinions and involving everybody and everything, you do lose efficiency, and ultimately the mission suffers. As you said very well, I do want to give everyone a chance, but I also think we have to put kind of boundaries on that. That hey, for the next 30 days, I'm going to be talking to everybody I can about this decision. But notice, I think it's important to set kind of a deadline. When I've started new jobs, I always felt like that was important, because as you arrive in a new organization, everyone's nervous. New leader coming in, what is this going to mean for me? And they're worried perhaps that you're going to make changes, the rumors start, things like that. But I think in any of these decisions, while you want to be collaborative, I think you put a timeline on it. And is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Because I think if you don't, you're just going to ride a roller coaster of, the opinion of the day and too many voices and all that. And so maybe some sort of self-designed timeline is a way for you to communicate. Yes, I'm going to hear from you, but at the end of the month, we're going to move forward.
Yes, that sounds like a very reasonable tact to make. Now, okay, let's say there's a leader listening right now. Okay, I'm going to put these ideas into practice, and you still get pushback from your staff and people are still not happy, which is, something that leaders deal with all the time is that this person's not happy or that person's not happy or they're pushing back and resisting. Do you have any, tactical like strategies that work in order to deal with pushback in a way that preserves your own health and well-being and happiness?
I think you got to distinguish between the topic and the person, because it's natural for the individual maybe to take it personally. You disagree with
Mhm.
me, and
Mhm.
that does that somehow imply you don't like them? And so I think very clearly and quickly you want to indicate that, look, I respect your opinion. I'm glad you gave your opinion. I didn't go in that direction this time, but I also want to acknowledge some of the other contributions you've made to our organization. So, in other words, there's kind of a combination of acknowledgement. I heard you, and
Mhm.
respect the work you're doing. But let's distinguish. I just simply don't agree with a specific topic we're discussing. I think that tends to kind of reduce the fever of a topic, because, again, the first reaction someone's going to have when you disagree with them, it may hurt their feelings. It may get them in a defensive mode. So I find that you just kind of have to respond to that with, kindness and in a respectful way. But it's also okay to indicate it's not the answer you're going to take.
Yeah. I think the higher level of trust and respect you can earn from your team, the easier those conversations are. We're
100%.
always yeah, we're talking about, like, how to proactively build trust so that these conversations can be, just more respectful and easier, and your team is like, "Okay, I may not agree, I don't see all the things that you see when you're making this decision, but I'm gonna trust that you know that this is gonna be good for everyone involved." How do you proactively build trust? Do you have any specific things that people could do, like, starting tomorrow?
Yeah, make sure everyone's voice is heard. And even in some of the mechanical things like your team meetings, I think there's such opportunities when you have existing gatherings of your team. Are you the one dominating every discussion if you are the senior leader on paper? And or are you delegating conversations in a way that allow everyone's voice to be heard? Because that is such an empowering element for someone on the team to, or the opposite of that is what tears culture apart, right? Where there are a few louder voices that seem to dominate. And so I'm a big believer in meeting management, and meeting design is a huge part of culture, because those are the unique opportunities when everybody's in the room together. And often everyone then after that goes in their different directions. So a cultural kind of touch point is when the team is all together. And so being very sensitive to how those kind of gatherings are managed, I think is important.
Yeah. And, I'll admit something from my past that I'm, embarrassed that I didn't know how to do back in the day when I was an executive director. I didn't know how to facilitate meetings well. I had someone that was like dominating. It wasn't me, but it was someone else dominating
Yep.
every single thing, and I didn't cut it off. I didn't know how to deal with it. Everybody knew that this other person just would talk 75% of the meeting and the rest of us were lucky to get a word in. And so I really wish I could have had some tools. Do you have like facilitation tools like that that you can help leaders who are listening right now to implement in their next team meeting?
Yeah. I mean, time blocking any topic, being very intentional of proactively having different people lead different parts of the agenda. Because I think if you try to lead it by yourself as the leader, the loudest voices do sometimes and are the ones that always answer. But can we distribute the agenda to more people in the room? Sometimes you have to do the gentle, thanks for your feedback, but let's let somebody else speak on this one. Or, before, the louder person always dominates, you don't call on it, right? And you figure out ways to get other voices, lifted up.
Do you recommend having a one-on-one conversation with the dominator outside of the meeting?
Yes. I think, and it, starts with appreciation. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for your passion about our cause. But as you and I both know, I want to make sure other voices are also heard. And if you talk as much as you do, you have others around the table that are retreating. So maybe
Mhm.
that will have this person, frankly, build their own EQ skills because it's a lack of emotional intelligence, and maybe there's an insecurity that, well, Patton, I didn't think I wanted you to know that I'm enthusiastic about this. I wanted you to be impressed with what I knew. So maybe I assure them, okay, I do appreciate your voice. I do respect what you bring. But remember, we're going to be stronger if everybody's voice is at the table. And if you take up all the time, hard to do that.
Yeah, yeah. That was a difficult conversation that I knew I needed to have at the time that I avoided. And so,
We've all been there. We've all been
uh,
there.
if I could turn back time, I would do that differently.
Right.
But that's why when I'm coaching CEOs, executive directors, or senior leaders now, we talk about that and the meeting design. Tell me more about like meeting design. Let's say you have a weekly staff meeting, right? How do you optimize that opportunity for building culture as well as getting work done?
Yeah, and I'm glad you're inviting this because I think, well, number one, let's make sure the agenda is truly allows us for strategic conversation. Is there an agenda at all? If you want to be kind of harsh about this, like I've heard some people say, rules, if there's not an agenda with some clear objectives, then we don't need to have the meeting. If we're just going through the motions because it's always on our calendar. I have found too, Marcia, lately to reduce the time frame of meetings makes them higher quality.
Mm,
And it's
mhm.
called Parkinson's law. We basically fill the time that is on the calendar. So if our weekly meeting has 90 minutes, then people are apt to just ramble their way through topics, and we didn't need 90 minutes. So I would encourage everybody listening to think about every meeting on your calendar. I've done this kind of an audit of all meetings related to the team. Are we just defaulting to 60 minutes because our calendar program tells us to? But why not 45 minutes? Why not 30 minutes? So, number one, audit your agenda and see how much of it truly is strategic, truly has a goal or an objective attached to it, and has a distributed kind of leadership. Back to your good question about, how do we build culture? Well, get other people talking. And if you're the one dictating every single topic on the agenda, I just don't think that's as effective, especially if, as a leader, you're trying to build leadership around you. Meetings are a good way to do that.
Oh yeah. That is something I think I did well at this at the organization that I was leading was I was not the owner of that meeting necessarily. Our, program operations director was, and she developed an amazing agenda for 30 minutes a week. It was so on point. It was so
Nice.
meaningful. It
Nice.
wasn't a, a struggle. It wasn't me doing it. It was her. And she like really kept time. She's a project manager brain, which I don't have. I'm like, let's talk about ideas all day long.
But you need somebody that brings
Uh,
that.
Always. Yes, I always do better when I partner with somebody like that. And it was wonderful. It was such a simple agenda. We just did shout outs in the beginning and a mission moment. Then we did 3 MITs for every single person to go through. And MIT is your most important thing for the week.
Nice.
We met on
Nice.
Mondays. Everybody went around. Here's my most important 1, 2, or 3 things. This is I need help from this person for something, or I need help from you. What resources do they need? What help do they need to get it done? And then schedule changes at the end. Anybody have a dentist appointment or, what that's going to take them out for a day or vacation coming up over the next 2 weeks? Done with that meeting. And it was just so productive and efficient. I loved it.
It reminds me of Patrick Lencioni's books, the kind of business fables, but Death by Meeting was one
Yes.
of my favorite books ever on this topic. But sadly, because it's like, maybe I'm guilty
We
of some
all
of these
are.
things, right?
Yeah, we all are. I mean, you can really just let meetings kind of eat up your week easily. And I love your idea of a meeting audit. And I would even say like quarterly. Let's look at our meetings
All step back.
strategically,
Yep.
right? all
Yep.
step back. Let's look at the next 3 months. Maybe you put one meeting aside because you've got something else that's a priority for that quarter or something. I think that would be really, really effective for
And then
teams to think about it.
and then your team feels empowered. Simply inviting that. Hey, everyone. I realize this is valuable time, and so each quarter I want to ask you. Are these meetings accomplishing what you need? I've seen some organizations rotate two functions at each meeting: a facilitator and a timekeeper.
Mm.
And so empowering different people every meeting. Okay, Marcia, today you're the facilitator and I'll be the timekeeper. And then that rotates and, allows different types of engagement, frankly, keeps us on task. And then people don't get offended because we all know that, Patton, you're the timekeeper. So you can politely say it's time to move to the next agenda item. Um, Lencioni has a fascinating concept. He calls it meeting stew. He said the reason people are often so frustrated by meetings is individuals come to the meeting with different objectives. In other words, some people come to the meeting, I'm just here to kind of cut to the chase. What, like you said, Marcia, what do I need to get through this week? Other people come to the meeting, though, wanting deeper conversation. I work kind of an isolated way, and I like the chance to brainstorm and go deeper. But when we have that conflicting objectives, or at least in people's mind, everybody leaves frustrated, right? You wanted to get down and let's get this things done. I wanted deeper strategic conversation. We both leave frustrated because the leader kind of is not sure and maybe settles in the middle, and then everybody's disappointed.
Right. And that really tanks your confidence as a leader right there, to get back to that word, right?
100%.
Yeah. So, how to strategically build your confidence is to kind of get control again over these meetings, invite input, clarify objectives. It's always clear as kind. Like, what is our objectives for this meeting? There's teams out there right now who the leader wants it to be super efficient and effective in 30 minutes, and the team wants to talk for 90 minutes.
Exactly.
How do you square that? How do you make everybody happy? I know we were talking about consensus. You can't make everybody, but what would be your advice to that team?
Define and have different types of meetings with the clear definition you just described. In fact, call your weekly tactical or some such definition, which kind of sets the stage for, hey, we're not here to go deep dive. We're here to make sure everybody's got what they need to be successful this week. Then you could call it your monthly strategic. We'll take more time. We'll expand the agenda to allow discussion. And then maybe you have quarterly retreats that, half day even. But what you signal to everybody, okay, now I see. I'm not going to be frustrated because I know the weekly meeting is for tactical, get things done. But I know I'll have a chance each month to expand and strategize and think about new ways to approach things. So that has been my kind of experience, and what I've seen done well is it not trying to do, as Lencioni says, meeting stew every time.
Oh, that's what meeting stew means. I
You
was
know,
wondering.
right? We're
Yeah.
we're mixing the agenda. So we have the tactical part of the agenda for those people. Then we have the strategic part, and again, it's a mixture of style of meeting, and none of it's going to be done well because you're trying to squish it all together.
That's so true. I love it. Thank you so much for kind of putting that all together. Um, okay, I think that we've given leaders this is a really meaty episode. I'm really excited about sharing this with everyone because I think it's just things that I love finding things that can make leaders feel more confident quickly, that cost nothing, that
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
kind
no
of
investment here needed.
right. It's actually going to buy back some of your time, your sanity, which is all about if you're just always underwater with self-doubt and imposter syndrome, how to really be clear in your leadership will build that trust and respect and that confidence step by step. And so I kind of want to sum up by think about this cadence for your year. Think about like a quarterly, half a day strategy session with your team. Audit the meetings for the next quarter. clarify what the top priorities are, and then set up your meetings, like your monthly planning meetings, where it's like more before each month you're talking about like the plan for the month with meatier conversations, and then the weekly tactical. It can be 30 minutes for a team of, I don't know, 5 or 6. Probably you might need 45 for a team of 10 or 12.
Exactly.
And much bigger, any meetings that are bigger than that is like a conference.
Yeah. It's a whole different animal then, right?
Yeah. Most team meetings are kind of like 10 or less. So yeah, somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes a week to get really clear on the tactical actions that need to be taken to hit those strategic priorities. I think that's just such a great cadence. What do you think?
100%. And one more thought is if you want to do your team a favor, declare one day a week that you don't have any meetings. I have seen a nice movement around this because a lot of times, and I remember this in higher education now, maybe, but I think other sectors face this. I felt like I was in meetings all the time. And there's that refrain, I'm not getting any work done because I'm always in meetings. So if you or your team feel that way, maybe you just declare, no meeting Wednesdays. Or try to do all the meetings of administrative nature on the same day so that the rest of the week, we can do the kind of work we need to do.
Right. I think that that's really powerful. Your team will light up. Talk about your confidence.
They'll love you.
They'll love you so much.
Yeah.
We did that in a larger organization I was with. We did no meetings just for the mornings of Wednesdays.
Nice.
And not everyone even stuck to that.
Oh, really?
They just thought, they're like, okay, I have a free morning, so I couldn't fit that meeting anywhere else. So that's just around, individual boundaries, but they have to see the leader holding to it, because it was the main leader of a department that still had meetings on Wednesdays.
Violating their own rule.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Won't work.
Yeah. So it's always about modeling what you want to see, the rest of the team do. It's not just what you say, it's what you do. Well, Patton, thank you so much for your time in this conversation. Where can people find out more about you so that they can follow the work you're doing?
Well, my name, Patton McDowell, is where you find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active in the social media spaces. Armstrong McGuire is the name of the firm I'm part of, and doing lots of programming. And then thank you. Early on, you said your path to nonprofit leadership is the key phrase for me. It's the podcast and the book, and really defines the kind of work I love doing.
Yeah, and we'll put all that information in the show notes as well, in case you're driving or taking a walk with the dog.
Indeed.
So yes, thank you so much, Patton. I really appreciate this conversation, and I know that we'll continue to stay connected. And thanks to everybody listening. My, ending line is always just, I'd love to continue this conversation. Just go to culturecares.com, check out what we do, schedule a call. Let's connect if you're struggling with confidence or imposter syndrome or anything like that. That's what we do and who we help. So have a wonderful day. And remember, you are meant for great things, and you don't have to burn out to prove it. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Nonprofit CEO Spark. If you're ready to turn burnout into boundaries and build a healthy, happy culture where everyone, including you, can thrive, visit culturecares.com to learn how I support nonprofit organizations like yours. If this episode brought you value, share it with a fellow leader navigating stress and overwhelm. And remember, you are meant for great things, and you don't have to burn out to prove it. Until next time, keep leading with courage and confidence.